It is July 12th, and on Today in Murder, we discuss the hit of one of New York's acting bosses in the heyday of the Mafia, Carmine Galante. Carmine was born February 21st, 1910 in East Harlem. His parents, James Galante and Vincenzia Russo, had immigrated from Sicily to New York City in 1906. At the age of 10, Galante was sent to reform school due to his criminal activities. He soon formed a juvenile street gang on New York's Lower East Side. By the age of 15, Galante had dropped out of 7th grade. As a teenager, Galante became a mafia associate during the Prohibition era, becoming a leading enforcer by the end of the decade. In August 1930, Galante was arrested for the murder of a police officer during a payroll robbery. However, Galante was never indicted. Later, in 1930, a New York Police Department officer caught Galante and other gang members attempting to hijack a truck in Brooklyn. That's when a shootout began. In the ensuing gun battle, Galante wounded the officer and a 6-year-old bystander. Luckily, both survived. On February 8, 1931, after pleading guilty to attempted robbery, Galante was sentenced to 12.5 years in prison. While in prison, in 1931, doctors diagnosed him with having a psychopathic personality. Nevertheless, on May 1, 1939, Galante was released from prison on parole. By 1940, Galante was carrying out hits for Vito Genovese, the underboss of the Luciano crime family. Galante had an underworld reputation for viciousness and was suspected by the NYPD of involvement of over 80 murders. Galante reportedly had a cold, dead-eyed stare, scaring both law enforcement officers and other mafia members. Moving forward after coming in and out of prison numerous times, beating cases left and right, Galante was high in the ranks of organized crime. In 1976, after current boss of the Bonanos family, Philip Rusty Rastielli, was sent to prison, Carmine Galante was ruled as acting boss by the Commission. The Commission was the governing body ruling over the crime families in New York City. During the late 1970s, Galante allegedly organized the murders of at least 8 members of the Gambino family. He had an intense rivalry with them. He organized these hits in order to take over a massive drug trafficking operation. On March 3, 1978, Galante's parole was revoked by the United States Parole Commission for allegedly associating with other Bonanno mobsters, and he was sent back to prison. However, on February 27, 1979, a judge ruled that the government had illegally revoked Galante's parole and ordered his immediate release. But this wasn't the end of his troubles. The New York City families were alarmed at Galante's brazen attempt to take over the drug market. Genovese crime family boss Frank Terry began contacting members to build a consensus for Galante's murder. In 1978, they received a boost when the official boss, Rastielli, sought commission approval to kill Galante through Joseph Massino, who was a Bonanno soldier loyal to Rastielli. Joseph relayed the request to the commission, which swiftly approved a contract on Galante. On July 12, 1979, Galante was finishing eating lunch on an open patio at Joe and Mary's Italian-American restaurant in Brooklyn. He was eating with Leonard Coppola, a capo, and restaurant owner Giuseppe Turano, a soldier who was also Galante's cousin. Also sitting at the table were Galante's Sicilian bodyguards, Baldassare Amato and Cesar Bonventri. At 2:45 p.m., 3 ski-masked men entered the restaurant. They then walked into the patio. Spotting Galante, they instantly opened fire with shotguns and handguns. Galante, Turano, and Coppola were killed instantly. Amato and Bonventri, who had done nothing to protect Galante, were left unharmed. The gunmen then ran out of the restaurant. A picture of the murdered Galante with the cigar still in his mouth circulated as possibly one of the most infamous photos of a mob hit ever. In 1984, Bonventre, one of the bodyguards who didn't help Galante, was found murdered in a New Jersey warehouse. This murder was allegedly to guarantee his silence in the Galante murder in case he turned state witness. Only one man was ever arrested and convicted for the murder. On January 13, 1987, Anthony Indelciato was sentenced to 40 years in prison as a defendant in the commission trial for the Galante, Coppola, and Toronto murders. It is July 12th. I'm your host, Dawson Toller, and on Today in Murder, that was the infamous whack of Carmine Galante.